Hi, my name is Christy, and I'm a boundaries and resiliency coach here at In Health and Healing Coaching. Join me for a series on emotional hygiene. On this episode, we're going to dig into how to practice safe emotional intimacy in the shark cage. So, head to the beach with me as we discuss safety in the midst of sharks. Uh, Friends, we swim in waters where sharks lurk beneath the surface. We only identify them when their fins surface or they're close enough to the surface to make out their shape. There's all different kinds of sharks, and it's hard to tell until they appear when their dorsal fin pops up out of the water, or we see the darkness appearing closer as they get closer to us. And there's different types of sharks. We have what we'll call pimp sharks, sharks who use us for emotional labor and who distribute our emotional labor out on their behalf. We have emotional bandits, sharks who probe and take what you did not consent to give simply for the thrill of taking it. We have thug sharks who use brutal, violent tactics to hurt you or attempt to control you through dominance. And I'm sure that there's more that haven't been included in here. But these are exploitative traits to be aware of. And in this episode, we're going to talk about a shark net. Practicing boundaries and awareness gives us a barrier to swim safely in social pools. And a shark cage. If a shark is detected and breaches the shark net, how can we get into a shark cage where we're aware of the shark and through reinforced boundaries and protections around us to engage safely? Uh, Sharks serve a purpose in our ecosystem. We lovingly release them back into the ocean to swim with the other sharks, and we do our due diligence to keep our swim area free of sharks. We can play safely. Uh, I don't think sharks play very nicely with others, in my experience. So I would advise maintaining a safe distance. Uh, Boundaries is the freedom. I heard someone reference this before. Uh, John K. Euler referenced this, that boundaries is going to act as the pimple of the relationship. If there's something under the surface, if there's an infection under the surface, it will bring it to the surface and it will expose whatever is underneath. Boundaries has a way of forcing the intentions to the surface that someone has with you. Um, and exploitative people tend to be averse to accountability and to have their intentions be known. Uh, Practicing boundaries with yourself and with other people can give you the protection to engage ethically and responsibly in social settings. And through time and consistency, you can see it will appear what someone's intentions are with you. If you listen close enough, people will tell you exactly who they are and what they intend with you. I've been in circles where people will talk about their expectations of material things from other second party people, um, and their disappointment that they didn't get these material things. And they'll gossip. They'll say bad things about other people, if they're saying it about them, be assured at some point, if they're unhappy with you or displeased that they couldn't get what they wanted from you, they will be speaking the ills of you in a smear campaign just as they are to other people. A couple days after, to a kid's birthday party that I went to, the parent was talking about how disappointed they were. And the child got a lot of gifts, but the parent was disappointed that the child didn't get more gifts. Um, and that in the explanation of this, outright said that they invited people for the sake of getting gifts for this child. And what kind of example are we setting for this child to expect material things and just it being a transactional relationship? Or are we looking for safety and connection through community? You carry your knapsack, I carry my knapsack, and we share in this experience of what we call life. And when life gets lifey, I can remind you of your strength and your pillars, your ethics, and your goodness to give you the wind in your sails to get you going when life gets lifey. And that's the purpose. But your burdens are your responsibility. My burdens are my responsibility. And we individually carry our knapsacks and, we can ask advice of each other, right? Uh, but we're not looking to unburden my load onto other people. That's for mine to carry. Um, Sharks serve a purpose in our community. They're usually the CEOs or diplomats, or they make ruthless, cutthroat decisions, and the community can benefit from how their brain is wired. Um, when we're looking for safety in terms of emotional intelligence, emotional safety, emotional hygiene, I wouldn't recommend cozying up to a shark if emotional safety and emotional hygiene is what you're seeking. Um, I would advise boundaries, and I would also advise limiting like small experiences, interactions that you can assess the other person through time. Patterns don't lie, time doesn't lie, and patterns can only be shown through consistency and time. That's it. Uh, we all can fumble and make mistakes, right? We're human. But we are what we say, we are what we do, and that is a reflection of our values, our ethics, and our intentions with people. Fundamentally, we cannot lie about what we do or what we say. It's an honest reflection of who we are, and that can only be revealed through time and assessing small interactions. So, when we think of emotional hygiene, also think of the environment that you're surrounding yourself with, and surrounding yourself with people, going back to this shark list, um, pimp sharks, sharks who are using us for emotional labor and who distribute our emotional labor out on their behalf. Um, I've had people in my life where the only time they called me was to use me for emotional labor. Uh, and that's at cost to me. They didn't care at what cost it was to me, or how what that took away from my resources, my time, my energy, my emotional capacity. Uh, And uh, it's also pulling me further away of what my priorities are. If I'm dedicating time to this person who's asking me of free emotional labor, I don't have the time or capacity to dedicate for my husband, my family, my uh, my responsibilities, my clients, things that I committed to. It's pulling me away from what is most important to me. Uh, and that goes back to agreements and thinking of the pillars of what the purpose of that friendship is. We want to surround ourselves with people who reinforce our values and who align with what is most important to us and what the priority is of that interaction. We Another shark type that we mentioned was emotional bandits, sharks who probe and take what you did not consent to give simply for the thrill of taking it. I've had people in my life, the term is dry begging, by the way, where they will not outright ask you for things, but they will, for example, gosh, I'm parched. I'm really thirsty. I could really use a glass of water, but oh man, I wish I had water. If only I had water, just the thirst would go away. So instead of me getting water for myself, I'm talking at length about how I could use this glass of water when I could just get a sip of water for myself. The term is called dry begging. It's to get a resource out of you without outright asking. A responsible person, if I, being a responsible person, if I'm thirsty and I don't have access to water, I would just say, hey, may I have a glass of water, please? Like my intention is just being known. But again, people's intentions with you eventually have a way of bubbling to the surface. The thug sharks use brutal, violent tactics to hurt you or attempt to control you through dominance. Uh, these people will definitely pull you away from your values. They usually use tactics like guilt or shame to have you believe that you are something that you are not. And fundamentally, anyone who is around you, you should be able to trust yourself and trust that environment. And these people will pull the trust away because if I can break the internal trust, then I have control over the other person. And that is the exact opposite of autonomy. So if autonomy is not present, that space is not for me. I don't engage in those spaces. I honor autonomy. I allow people the space simply to be, and I engage in spaces where my autonomy is honored. Um, I will not be controlled through force, through manipulation, through mind games. Um, and there are people out there that do this with don't even realize they're doing it. It's usually a generational thing, or it's something that they've picked up on that has served them well through time. And why break what works for them? If they're getting by in life by using shame and guilt to control other people, to have their needs being met, why get help? Why get better? Why change anything when um, they get their way and they just like plow through people? It's a numbers game for them. They just like go through people, and usually I've watched in communities where uh, at some point they'll be at odds with someone because there can never just be fully be peace. Some people benefit and profit from conflict, and these people usually use intimidation conflict with other people to intimidate the people closest to them. Uh, and again, it goes through time and consistency. If I have boundaries and that's a problem for someone, well, then that's their problem because I'm going to honor my boundaries. And my boundaries isn't about controlling other people. For example, if a boundary isn't, um, don't you yell at me anymore. It's not about controlling the other person. A boundary is honoring yourself. I hear that, so a boundary would look like, I hear that there's an elevated tone here. I'm not comfortable with that. I'll engage in this conversation so long as the tone goes back down. But if the tone is raised again or doesn't go back down, I'm going to remove myself from this conversation um, until the tone is calm and we can revisit this at a later time. It's about honoring myself, my boundaries, and my engage in spaces that I feel safe with. And if it's starting to go down a path where I don't feel safe, or if it feels like it's going to be not productive, I think that's another important thing. There's a certain level and a certain tone where heated conversations can absolutely happen. They could be quite healthy so long as there's a direction and an end point. But if it's a circle, I'm going to remove myself from that circle, that cyclone, until we can resume a productive conversation. So it's not about controlling the other person. I have autonomy to say what I engage with and what I don't engage with. And the other person, their intentions will be known. Uh Whether that's a problem for them or not. Uh we can have boundaries. Boundaries sometimes can also, somebody could hear a boundary and they could be like, challenge accepted. I'm going to see how far and how quick I can cross that boundary and get you to betray that boundary. And, maybe that could be another type of shark, a pusher shark. And I surround myself with people that I can trust myself, I can trust the environment, and I can trust that I'm not going to be pulled away from my boundaries, my pillars, and what's most important to me. And again, that goes back to agreements. What's this space being shared for? Like, what's the purpose of this shared space? And if this interaction isn't adding to my life in some way, at least neutral, like not taking from my life. But once an interaction starts taking from my life that I didn't consent to give to, then that's probably going to be a dynamic that I'm going to remove myself from. And these are terms, as we engage with people, it could be family, it could be relatives, it could be work, it could be board of directors on, a fundraiser or nonprofit of some kind, events, game groups, uh, sports, like we socialize in so many different ways as human beings, exercise classes, even. Um, and it's important that we assess where we're safe and where boundaries can serve us well and protect us, and that is the purpose of the shark cage. The shark cage is boundaries. You can reinforce safety through boundaries, and it'll bring what is underneath the surface to the surface, whatever the intentions are. It'll bring it to light, and then at that point you can address whether this is a relationship to pursue. What is the purpose of this relationship, and at what cost is it to me? And what adjustments can be made? Um, in terms of friendship, community connection, it's personally, I don't want to have to work. Every relationship is work, but when I'm the only one doing the work, eventually resentment's going to pop up, and that resentment's going to tell me that this relationship is not in a healthy territory. And if it can't get back on track through healthy communication, then, I have some difficult decisions to make on whether or not to walk away from that relationship. And in my experience, it's tricky building friendships as an adult where emotional boundaries, intentions, agreements, honesty. There's some people that are looking to profit and to take advantage of others, and there's some people that are willing to give wholeheartedly and who just get pummeled, and everyone in between. And I think it's important to find your people. Connection is so important. It can really bring balance to mental health. Oftentimes, my mind will tell me that things are a bigger deal than they are. Um, I've had times where my brain will convince me that everyone hates me, or that I'm a failure, or all of these lies that are placed on me. And community is helpful to reflect who we are as a person. Um, and to be that touchstone of perspective of what matters most in life and who we value, having moments of fun and levity and reminding us of the meaning of life, of love, of connection. And what I'm seeing in our world today is we're losing that side of connection, of real life human connection, and we're losing the skills on how to build those connections. When I think back, my grandparents met, my mother's grandparents met at a dance, and my grandmother had a dance card where you would punch. Males would write their names down on what number dance that they wanted to dance with, the female. And my grandfather filled out her dance card at this particular dance. And we're losing that side of connection, of opportunities to meet people, to build bonds through activity. There used to be bowling leagues. There's still mahjong groups are going strong. I'm a part of a mahjong group, and it's so much fun. Uh, Gardening clubs. There's so many different ways to connect with people, and it's so important to find your people, to find hobbies, to find points of connection where you can learn something and challenge yourself and learn from other people. Uh, what I value most in friendships is learning, there's more than one way to do life. And I find it so fascinating to learn about other cultures and other viewpoints and perspectives. And I gain so much and I learn so much from how to look at resources, a situation, a problem, worldviews differently through different perspectives. Uh, and we can all benefit in so many beautiful ways from safe connection. Um, and I've seen so much material and education, and I see the people around me have education on financial boundaries. In our society, physical boundaries is definitely becoming the norm. Emotional boundaries, I think we can learn from. I think our society could benefit from learning emotional boundaries and how to engage in a healthy way, in a balanced way where our needs are met and we feel seen and heard and supported while still honoring the autonomy and engaging in what both parties consented to as far as the purpose of that interaction. Uh, all too often, too many times, I've had conversations the very first time meeting someone, and uh, that conversation would be better served in therapy. They're sharing things, disclosing things uh, that I didn't, I wasn't prepared, I didn't consent to, um, and it would be best that conversation would be best served in therapy, in a safe environment where they're they could work through the things that it feels like they're trying to work through in that moment with me. Um, and to have someone with the skill set and the education in a safe therapeutic environment, in a container, or even with a coach, with a life coach in a coaching container, but to be able to work through the hurdles that they're discussing, and maybe not on a first date with a friend, or in a nail shop or at a grocery store, or I think we could learn and benefit from uh, um, emotional intelligence, emotional boundaries, and emotional hygiene. And so that's our series. This is the last episode. If you have any questions, let me know, and let me know what you'd like to hear about next. Thanks.